Canadian productivity growth is an absolute disaster, which means wages do not increase. Their housing prices are 4 times what ours are. They have a population of 40 million, but they had immigration of 400,000, and they can't house those people, and it pushes everyone's cost of living substantially higher, even though economically...
If they have an immigration of 400,000, then they've got to have spaces for them to go.
Oh, guys, so that's how that works.
We're going to Germany. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You think our housing's bad here? People can't literally get housing in Canada.
I think the only thing he forgot there was the subscriptions, right? Even if you cancel your Disney Plus subscription, it's still gonna be tight. But really, this video is about homeownership and is it out of reach for the younger generations? I think it's not, but I think it's definitely harder than it ever was. At least 10 years ago, it was way easier than it is today. So let's watch and see.
Gen Z is so broke they can't even afford to purchase a home, according to a new report by Redfin. For many young adults, the dream of home ownership is simply out of reach. While previous generations built wealth through real estate, Gen Z is facing an uphill battle against skyrocketing home prices, crazy high mortgage rates, and stagnant wages. Let's take a look at some of this data. So only about 30% of Gen Z adults ages 18 to 27 own a home, compared to 39% of millennials and 48% of Gen Xers at the same age, according to this data. The median home price has surged past $400,000, while mortgage rates hover around 7%, making it harder than ever for first-time home buyers to afford their monthly payments. In contrast, baby boomers in the 80s often secured mortgage rates below 5%, with home prices averaging $70,000, a fraction of today's cost. Gen Z also faces another major barrier to home ownership: student loan debt. Many Gen Zers are dealing with ridiculously high student loan payments alongside rising rents, making it impossible to save up for a down payment. This was not as much of a barrier for other generations. Boomers and Gen Xers benefited from lower college tuition costs and stronger job markets when they were starting out. Despite the challenges, though, some Gen Zers are getting creative by turning to side hustles, pulling money together with friends or family, and working 2 to 3 jobs at a time to afford the dream of home ownership. But unless wages catch up to the housing costs, the American dream of home ownership may remain just that, a dream.
Yeah, so she must be in the States where their rates are still over 7%. Here in Canada, we are below 5%. My mortgage renewal is up to be renewed in October of this year, and they're offering me about 4.49. Obviously, I'm still going to shop around, but yeah. Also, when she says most people are not able to save money because of their student loans, I guess all of this is related to the States, but at least here in Canada, the average student loan is 28,000 Canadian, and the average car payments here in Canada is over $600. So you see here, the average car payment in Canada for a new vehicle is around $880 per month. For used vehicles, the average monthly payment is lower at around $618. However, nearly 30% of buyers who finance their purchase pay $1,000 or more per month. Wow. Imagine paying $1,000 or more a month just in car payments. That's crazy, y'all. So I don't know what people's student loan payments are, but if your student loan is $28K on average for a bachelor's degree, I don't think it should be more than $1,000 a month, especially if you were trying to pay it while you were going to school. Because I think while you're going to school, there's even no interest rates payments being due at that point. So I think it's definitely doable if you can get rid of your student loans. My advice would be, if you have student loans, try and pay it off while you're going to school, because there's no interest being applied at that point. That's just I think it's a hack, but I don't know why more people don't do that.
It's not just buying a house that's becoming impossible for millennials and Gen Z, it's renting one too. Because rent gets more expensive when the price of homes go up. And right now it's becoming a standard for landlords to require you to make 3 times what they're charging in rent per month. Which is actually ridiculous when you think about it, because to qualify for a $2,000 rent payment, you'd be needing to make $72,000 per year. But to qualify for the same $2,000 mortgage payment, you'd only need to be making $48,000 a year if you had no debt. And while a $72,000 annual income would only qualify you for a $2,000 monthly rent payment, if you were buying a house, you could qualify for a $360,000 loan. But here's the problem for millennials and Gen Z. There's almost no homes available for $360,000, and you need to be making $72,000, which is way higher than the average income right now. And plus, you're only going to qualify for this if you have no debt and you're maxing yourself out with a 50% debt to income ratio, which I never recommend anyone doing. So it's really not that complicated. There is no American dream anymore. It's becoming impossible not only to buy a house, but even just to rent. And the only possible way we're going to start to see things improve is if mortgage rates drop back to the 4% rate. So is our generation cut? Let me know in the comments, and make sure you follow this page for more housing content like this.
Yeah, like I always say, location, location, location. So when he says there's no houses for it's hard to find houses at 360K, I agree, it is hard. But then I think Canada's housing market is even way worse than the US. So I've taken the liberty to pull up some listings in Cornwall, Ontario. It's a pretty up and coming city in Canada, in Ontario. About 1 hour from Ottawa, about 1 hour from Montreal, which are major cities with lots of jobs. So I think a 1 hour commute, I think it's not ideal, but you know what? If you're given lemons, make lemonade. So here are some listings in Cornwall, Ontario. Here you have 319, 370, 588, 409, 349, 520. Actually, let's look for one that is actually under 300K. Can we find any under 300K? Let's see. So you see, right here, we keep going. Yeah, right there, $238,000. It's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 700 plus square feet. Let's go in there and look at some of the pictures. Doesn't look too shabby, right? Not too shabby. It looks like it's not a house, it's an apartment. But still, look at that. It will be your own place. And, you don't have to deal with landlords increasing the rents on you. And then any payment you make is going towards your equity, right? So then that allows you to also upscale in the future. So we'll keep looking here. See if we can find anything else. Keep going. Look over here. Okay, page 4. Voila, look at this guy here. At 369,800. 4 beds, 1 bath. Wow, only 1 bath with 4 beds. That's really not that good. But anyways, with 4 beds, I can imagine that you can have some roommates, and then you guys could probably afford this with your roommates, 2 roommates, 3 people living here. It's not ideal, I know, but it could be your like a foot in the door into homeownership if we're looking for solutions, that is. So here in this same, look at how beautiful this property is. It looks pretty good, right? Not too bad. Look at all that. For $369,000, you could own this about 1 hour away from Ottawa. Just, I don't know, but with you and your buddies, you could just probably fling this. Now let's look at some of the numbers, right? So me, I like to always bid lower because right now it looks like it's a buyer's market as well. So I'll probably offer these guys 350K, for example. Let's just say in Canada, you're allowed to put down 5% down payment. So 5% on that 350K is about 17,500 Canadian. It seems like it's a lot. But imagine you get rid of your $600 car payment. You could have that in 2 years. If you have 2 people there, you could have that within a year and a half. You could have that 17,500. At an interest rate, I'm going to use the one that my bank offered me, 4.49%, amortized over 25 years. Your monthly payment is going to be $1838.45. So I think that's highly doable, especially if you have roommates. This becomes affordable. Any payment you make goes towards your equity, and I think it's definitely doable. So for me, I don't think home ownership is out of reach for the younger generations. I think it's definitely harder, definitely not as accessible as it was for the previous generations, but still doable with some creativity and a little bit of saving and planning. But y'all let me know what you think down in the comments below. Am I tripping? Am I being like a typical boomer? Even though I'm not a boomer, I'm a millennial. Y'all let me know down in the comments below. And until next time, peace.